Apple's 2025 lineup has already made waves. We've got the blazing fast M5 MacBook Pro, the all-new M5 iPad Pro, and even updates for the Vision Pro. But there's one product everyone keeps asking about, and it's missing in action. Where is the M5 Mac Mini? Because here's the strange part. Apple's been silent. No teaser, no production leaks, no hints in the event schedule, nothing. And that's weird, because if there's one device that should have been an easy win for Apple, it's the Mac Mini. Why? Because a simple chip swap was all it needed. The M5 chip is already out and running inside the new iPad Pro and MacBook Pro, so on paper, refreshing the Mac Mini should have been effortless. But insiders are saying Apple's silence isn't accidental. The delay might mean something bigger is in the works, a redesign, a major desktop strategy shift, or even a completely new direction for Apple's smallest powerhouse. Let's unpack the mystery. Welcome to Touch Trove, and this is everything we know about Apple's missing M5 Mac Mini, Apple's secret desktop overhaul according to Mark Gurman from Bloomberg, one of the most accurate voices when it comes to Apple. Leaks. Apple's already deep in development on refreshed versions of both the Mac Mini and Mac Studio, but this isn't a simple spec bump. Both will be powered by the entire next-gen Apple Silicon lineup, the M5, M5 Pro, M5 Max, and even the M5 Ultra. And here's where things get really exciting. Apple is reportedly working on 2 new external displays, including a next-generation Studio display that could launch alongside these new desktops. If that happens, it means Apple could refresh its entire desktop lineup at once, something that's only happened a handful of times in Apple's history. According to internal build codes, the Mac Mini prototypes are labeled J873S and J873G, while the Mac Studio models carry J775C and J775D. For Apple followers, those codes are like treasure maps, because they almost always hint at what's next. And more importantly, when will the M5 Mac Mini actually launch? Based on beta builds, macOS references, and insider chatter, the next big Mac desktop refresh is expected around mid-2026, likely at WWDC 2026. Why that date? It lines up perfectly with Apple's previous timeline. Remember the M2 Max and M2 Ultra Mac Studio? Those launched at WWDC 2023, running macOS 13.4 now. Insiders say Apple is testing new hardware with macOS 26.4, which strongly hints at a WWDC 2026 release window. So yeah, if you were hoping for a 2025 surprise, you might have to wait another year. Why the delay? That's the big question. Why would Apple hold back something as simple as a base M5 Mac Mini? There are 3 main theories. A unified M5 desktop launch. Apple might be planning to release the Mac Mini, Mac Studio, and even a new iMac together, under one massive marketing push called something like the M5 desktop era. It's classic Apple, a single story of performance, design and AI power across every machine. Production scalability. The M5 chip is built on TSMC's 3nm N3E process, incredibly advanced, but also expensive and limited in early yields. Apple may be waiting until supply scales up before mass-producing desktops, a new architecture shift. Now this is the real bombshell. Leaks suggest the M5 Pro and M5 Max are built on a new modular architecture. Instead of the unified CPU-GPU setup we've seen since the M1, Apple's splitting them into separate compute and graphics blocks. That's huge, because it gives Apple more flexibility to scale, customize, and even price differently for creators versus casual users. Imagine configuring a Mac Studio with a huge GPU but a standard CPU, or vice versa. That kind of modular control changes everything, but engineering that flexibility takes time, and that's likely why the M5 Mac Mini is being held until the entire M5 lineup is ready. M5 versus M4. The real difference is, let's talk performance. The M5 chip uses TSMC's N3E process, bringing a 10-core CPU, 4 performance plus 6 efficiency, with around 15% faster multi-core speeds than the M4. The GPU? 10 cores too, but now featuring AI-accelerated render units for real-time ray tracing, mesh shading, and 3D rendering up to 45% faster. The neural engine gets a huge boost, now with 16 cores, 4x faster for AI workloads. And with macOS 26 and Apple Intelligence rolling out across devices, this chip is built for the AI future. Even the memory bandwidth jumps 30% to around 153 GB SS, supporting up to 32 GB unified memory in the base Mini. In short, everything's faster, smoother, and smarter. But here's the truth. For everyday users, the M4 is already overpowered. If your tasks are web, office, or light creative work, you'll barely notice a difference. However, for developers, video editors, and 3D artists, that M5 GPU and AI boost could be a game changer. Expected upgrades in the M5 Mac Mini. Here's what else we expect in 2026. Twice as fast SSDs, like the ones in the M5 MacBook Pro. 512GB base storage with 16GB unified memory, finally ditching 256GB. Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6E, and possibly Thunderbolt 5. AI-optimized macOS features, from text generation to app automation. A better cooling and power efficiency, quieter, cooler, and greener. What about the M5 Mac Studio and iMac? According to macOS build data, the next-gen Mac Studio is codenamed J775CD, and a new mysterious device, J833CT, might actually be the next iMac. If that's true, Apple's going for a synchronized desktop lineup. M5 Mac Mini M5 Max, Ultra Mac Studio M5 iMac. The M5 Ultra Mac Studio could bring up to 24 CPU cores, 76 GPU cores, and 128GB unified memory, turning it into a workstation monster for 3D, VFX, and high-end production. Meanwhile, the iMac may finally get thinner bezels, new colors, and possibly the M5 or M5 Pro chip, blending design and raw performance. So why not launch the base Mini now? Honestly, it comes down to marketing and momentum. Apple prefers synchronized launches, one clear message. One big event. They could release the M5 Mini quietly this year, but they won't. Because when Apple introduces the M5 desktop family, they'll want the story to feel cohesive, futuristic, and revolutionary. And that's pure Apple strategy. What should you do? Wait or buy now? If you need a desktop today, go for the M4 Mac Mini. It's still one of the best value Apple computers ever made. Even when the M5 launches, you'll likely see the M4 drop to $399 refurbished, making it an unbeatable deal for students, creators, or anyone who wants Apple performance on a budget. If you want the latest and greatest, hold out until WWDC 2026, but if you want the smartest value, the M4 is your move. Final thoughts, the M5 Mac Mini is real, and it's coming. But Apple's clearly playing the long game here, building towards a unified M5 desktop generation. Expect two versions, a base M5 and possibly an M5 Pro variant. Design changes? Minimal, because the 2024 redesign already nailed the aesthetics. But performance, AI capability, and energy efficiency? That's where the magic happens. So whether you buy now or wait, Apple's desktop future looks powerful, and this next chapter could redefine what a mini Mac can really do. If you made it this far, I'd love to know your thoughts. Would you wait for the M5 Mac Mini or pick up an M4 at a discount right now? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you love deep dive Apple updates like this, hit subscribe, like, and turn on the bell so you never miss the next Trove video. Because trust me, Apple's M5 revolution is just getting started.